Show with OCDetailing. And here I have a Tesla Model 3 and I have a Tesla Model Y. And I want to talk about some of the differences between these two cars. They're both very similar first off, so there's not going to be a ton, but there are some very noticeable ones. I'm going to start with the front end of the car. Obviously the Model Y is sitting a lot higher. Well, that's because it's a crossover, so it's a little bit raised, you get a little more headroom inside the car, and it's just a little bit taller than a Model 3. Also, I want to point out that the Model Y comes with these black fender flares. This is pretty common. They do this on a lot of SUVs. It's a way to fill the wheel gap up. Looks really cool on this car. It actually goes really cool with the blackout too. You know, on Model X's you get this same kind of thing, but they have a lot of chrome on them. It feels a little bit out of place, but on this car it fits right in. Looks really nice. On a Model 3, no fender flares, and everything's chrome. So we have tons of customers bring these cars in and have us do a blackout on this stuff to get this exact same look over here. So it's kind of cool that Tesla went ahead and actually delivered the cars this way and give people an option for it. I know a lot of manufacturers have that same kind of a thing, and it's about time Tesla did it too. The side mirrors. I don't know why, I feel like this looks a little goofy. It's a little taller than like you would see on a Model 3. So I'm sure it's functional and there's a reason it's like that, but it still looks a little disproportionate to me. It's like a little bit thinner, a little bit taller. It's like someone took a Model 3 mirror and was like, whoop, yeah, just like, yeah, and then stuck it here. But I bet that's for visibility because this is a taller car and you're sitting up higher, so it would make sense that you had a taller mirror. The funny thing is though, if you look at the mirrors on an S and an X, they're really similar. I should go measure them to see if they're the same size because I don't think they did the same kind of taller, skinnier mirror on an X. Now let's get to the next thing. The door handles. This one is black. This one is chrome. And that's part of the blackout stuff, which I actually love. I wonder how this is going to be in the summer though with this black door handle. I bet it's going to get really hot. Inside of a Model Y, you have this raised bolster sitting down inside of here. When you sit right here, it feels almost exactly like that car. The material in here feels different to me. Not the steering wheel, but the seat. And like this part of the door panel felt different to me than a Model 3. When I came to the shop today, I had to go double check just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. And I went and checked with another Model 3, and actually this does feel very different to me. And also I feel like there's more squishiness or more padding to the Model Y seat that makes it a little more comfortable. It makes this car feel a little more premium. I know they're very, very similar, but this does feel like it's a little bit nicer than a Model 3 is. But all this looks very familiar. This screen straight out of here, the dash, all this is the same. And you get the giant pano roof, just missing the bar right here. This actually sounds pretty heavy when you close it. I'm not slamming that, I'm just letting it go. Now I do, that's actually pretty cool. I would be willing to bet there's more sound deadening inside this door than there is on a Model 3. You can see, not the same. So when I let the door go, it doesn't close all the way. So now let's sit down inside of here. I'll try to remove this alcohol. I was going to remove this, but actually maybe it's a good idea I wipe the car down with it first. I heard there's an excessive need to sanitize things these days, which we do for every vehicle that comes through here before we touch it. Again, in a Model Y, I had my foot up and it was pretty, I didn't have to sit nearly as low. So, getting in here, very roomy. The guys were detailing this one. We did like a front end wrap on this and a ceramic coating on everything and wrapped the back bumper, and then we were doing interior detail, and we also wrapped the console in this in carbon fiber, and we wrapped the wood in carbon fiber because this customer was wondering why there was a random piece of wood there. So we get a mixed result. Some people like it and some people are like, I don't understand why it's there, so they have us replace it. But the main thing I was going to say in here is that this seat feels different to me than it does in the Model Y. I don't know why though. It's like it makes no sense that it wouldn't be the exact same material, but it feels different for whatever reason. Also, too, in my defense, again, not to use it as an excuse, but I haven't slept in 3 days because I have a newborn, so maybe I'm just delirious. I'll check again when I've gotten some sleep. Looking at the steering wheel in here, it's the exact same as the one in the Model Y. You look up, this is exactly the same thing you'll see. Tweeters, sun visors, sunroof, but with a bar back here. The bar in this one has some LED lights, so that's cool. The LED lights are actually in the pillars on the Model Y. You got the same familiar rolling knobs here, cup holders, and then same little amount of space there. But everything else is pretty much the same. You just feel like you're sitting way lower though. Like it's really noticeable. You actually feel like you're sitting in a sports car compared to if you were used to driving a Model Y and you got into this, you would feel like you were sitting on the ground. Let's see what the difference is between the back seat. The front seat, pretty much the same amount of room. Very similar, like you got the screen, the wood. So getting in the back seat is really easy. I mean, and again, I adjusted this front seat to where it would be room enough for me to sit, and I'm 6 feet tall, and there's a lot of room back here. The seat, I think the seat can lean back somehow, but these seats actually do recline a little bit. Here's the funny thing is, you would totally expect to reach for right here somewhere, and I actually just did this exact same motion, like where do you recline it? But I realized, like, it's you would grab it like you would grab in a seatbelt. So it's up here. So you push this, and you get a small recline in the seat. Just to show you the difference between this one that's not reclined and this one, which isn't bad. I mean, it helps, right? Like, it makes the seat a little bit more comfortable.
Would you call that like 1 inch, 2 inch? How much of a difference?
10 degrees? By my protractor finger, I would say it's 10 degrees. I'm not as fancy as some people. They'll be willing to actually go get a protractor and check. I love looking up in this thing. This roof is massive. You just feel like, if you were outside, you would literally just feel like you were sitting outside, other than the fact that you're inside the car. Again, you get the standard little hangers up here that you can hang stuff on, and you got LED lights. The Model 3 actually has a lot of that as well. But I'm really, really impressed with the amount of room in this. And again, not sure if I'm delirious, but I feel like this leather feels nicer than it does in a 3. So the back doors actually don't close as hard as the front doors on this, but they do feel heavier. Like, okay, so I'm going to start with right here and say that I had to be a lot less careful getting in that Model Y than I feel like I need to be in here to make sure my foot doesn't hit this door panel or the back of this seat, which you would totally expect because it's an SUV. But that being said, I mean, if you plan on hauling a lot of people around, like, this is definitely a good reason to go with that car over this one. Not saying there's not a lot of room back here and it's not really nice, but just this alone, like, here's what I have to do to get in without kicking the door panel. But now that I'm back here, I mean, the seat's adjusted. I actually put it to where I would sit. There's quite a bit of room back here. I mean, it's not uncomfortable at all. You have the big glass back window. There's the bar there, but you also got that big roof. Doesn't feel nearly as open as a Model Y does. I still think I'm delirious, or this isn't the same material, but it feels different than the material in that Model Y. You got your USB ports there, LED lights, little hangers on the pillars. Very, very similar, but again, that's an SUV, so you're going to get more room in there. I think if you had 3 people inside of here, 3 adults inside of here, they would be a little bit crammed depending on how tall the driver were. But I think in that Model Y, you could put 3 people in there no matter how far the seats were, very comfortably. You cannot recline the rear seats in this one either. Yeah, I'm looking here, looking there. I looked over here, and when I pull this, nothing happened. So this seat doesn't recline. Now, let me show you this getting out without kicking this. And I'm so trained to do this because Porsche 911s are really notorious this when you're getting out of the driver's seat, kicking the door panel. Don't ask how I know. Could be a very expensive mistake, so I always make sure I get out of the car without kicking anything. And getting out of the back seat of this, I'm literally having to do this. And let me just show you this in real time one more time versus what I had to do to get in and out of this one. Definitely easier, but you would expect it, right? This is SUV, a little miniature SUV versus a sports sedan. I'm sure that would prove true if I compared anything. In the back of the Model Y, there is a ton of room. We talked about this in our comparison to the X, but this has a lot of room. And if you push these buttons here, it did this again. Hang on. Hey Alex, pretend that I pushed this and it fell.
How do I do that?
I don't know. Editing? See, ta-da! The seats fell when I pushed the button and with no assistance from me whatsoever. But there's so much room here. If you look, you could fit, I mean, often these days we have these giant TVs, like 70-inch and 80-inch TVs. I bet you could shove one in here. I bet you could fit one in there. I would get a measuring tape to figure that out, but I'll let somebody else do that who's got more time than me. Over here, you, just like you do over there, you've got a ton of room, but you're confined by height because this is an open air hatchback. This one's a car. This is actually a trunk. That's a hatch. So you don't have nearly as much vertical room, but distance-wise, I believe it's exactly the same. Like, you know, this car's completely done, so I'm going to do my best not to touch the paint. Let's see, we're going to measure, I'm about a foot past my rear end, out, and my head's hitting the back of the seat. The effort, I probably could have got a measuring tape and it would have been easier. And if my head was at the rear seats, it's the same. Or similar. Again, with the measuring tape. The other thing too is that on this car you get this space. On that car you have one as well, but this one has an extra little cubby like in front of it. Pretty cool. And on this one, take note to that because I don't think this one pops up this fast. Not nearly as aggressive. I don't know if it's just that specific car, but that hood pops up very aggressive. As far as space goes, there's actually a lot of space right here. It's quite a bit. You can put like a carry-on in there, or you know, groceries. Also, you can lock this with the valet mode. Same thing with this one, so that someone can't open it. So if you want to put some valuables in there because you have your car in valet mode, that's a good way to do it. A funny thing that they have in both of these cars. A funny thing they have in both of the cars is a power release for inside of here. Now, before someone says, it's technically a law, they have to have that. I always thought this was hilarious, because you know why that has to be a law? There has to be a power release inside of Frunks or trunks? Because at some point there were an abundance of people locking people in trunks and Frunks, so the government stepped in and said, you must have this button or the cord inside of every single car on the road. Tesla actually made a pretty neat button. If you look at it in the back of a lot of cars, it has a person jumping out of it. It's like a little stick figure, which is kind of cool. Room-wise, they're very similar. I think the Model 3, actually, you have a little more width. This one has a little more depth. But either one, you could store quite a bit of stuff in there. The Model Y does have this weather seal around here that goes like this. It's like a, I think this is for weather sealing because I've seen it on, well, not so much those, but mainly on Model X's where you get stuff actually inside of the front trunk. On the Model 3, you have it where it's just got this really thick seal around this. And I can't tell if there was like splatter or something that got over this. We should go look at a dirty one because we've already cleaned all this because, again, this car just got coated in prep. But this one you can see, even during Tesla's waterproof testing, that it got water all around here. So this is just mainly to protect whatever you have stored right here. So things to consider before picking between these two cars. If you want more room, the Model Y is definitely going to be the way to go. You're hauling around kids, like strollers. Not saying that the Model 3 can't do it because it's a very capable car, but it's going to be a little more convenient with this one when you have the big hatch and you have the easier in and out and the raised up, the easier access to the cabin. Also, you got a little bit of a deeper frunk. I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference on what you're doing, but if you just want, you know, your first go in an electric car and you want an awesome one, and you want to save a little bit of money and you don't need so much of the extra space, a Model 3 is going to be a great choice for you as well. Also too, if you're going for the performance ones, the Model 3 Performance is probably going to be a little faster around a track. You'll be able to throw it around a little bit more. Not that you couldn't do it with this car, it just feels like the sportier looking 3 is probably going to do it a little better. Thanks for watching. I'm Joe with OCDetailing. Please subscribe for more videos.